Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Exploring Middle-earth. Now in today's episode, we're going to be discussing the metal Mithril, its qualities, where it came from, and how it was the cause for the great fortune of Khazad Dum, and yet it was also responsible for its fall. So Mithril was the strongest, yet lightest material in Middle-earth, and it was also known for its incredible beauty, and thus it was coveted by many people. The dwarves loved it for its strength and durability, and thus used it for weapons and armor, while the elves loved its beauty, and thus used it for jewelry and attire. Some elves, such as the Noldor of Eregion, discovered how to make an alloy out of it called Ithildin, and Ithildin could only be seen under moonlight or starlight. They used this alloy to decorate their buildings such as gateways and arches, and in fact, the west gate of Moria had its door and runes etched in Ithildin. Ithildin could also be enchanted to appear only during certain times or days of the year, such as was the case with Thorin Oakenshield's map. Unfortunately, despite being such a useful, coveted material, it was quite rare, and in fact was only mined in Khazad Dum. For those who don't know, Khazad Dum is basically another name for Moria. In Tolkien's writing, namely the Book of Unfinished Tales, he does confirm that Mithril was also present on the island of Numneor, but this island was lost and sunk under the sea, and thus its reserves of Mithril were also lost. Thus the only real available supply was in Khazad Dum, and the dwarves there mined it and sold it, and it eventually made their kingdom rich. At the time when it was most common, its price was still 10 times that of gold, which truly shows the incredible value and demand it had. Now before I carry on, there are two quotes which I think are quite relevant and I'd like to read them out to you. So the first one is, Mithril, all folk desired it. It could be beaten like copper and polished like glass, and the dwarves could make of it a metal, light and yet harder than tempered steel. Its beauty was like that of common silver, but the beauty of Mithril did not tarnish or grow dim. And the other quote is, the wealth of Moria was not in gold or jewels, the toys of the dwarfs, nor in iron their servant. Its worth was 10 times that of gold, and now it is beyond price. For little is left above ground, and even the orcs dare not delve here for it. Now the reason I read out these two quotes is that they really help show the properties Mithril had, and they described it quite well. And it's sometimes nice having a direct source or quote from the books to help us get the feel of it better. Also, when Mithril was mined, its simplest form was said to be very soft and malleable, and thus, apart from being a hard and incredibly strong material, it was also an ideal material for smithing since it was easy to work with. So as we said previously, Mithril was what made Khazad Dum the most prosperous kingdom of the dwarves, and yet it led to its fall. This is because the dwarves of Khazad Dum dug too deep for it and eventually discovered the Balrog. This Balrog then woke up and slew their king, and the dwarves had to run away and leave their home if they hoped to survive. Now, since Khazad Dum was abandoned, the supply of new, fresh Mithril was cut off, and the only thing people had left were items that already existed. Now, if this wasn't bad enough, the supply further dwindled, because any pieces of Mithril that the orcs found, such as armor and swords, were taken to Sauron because he coveted it a lot, and thus there was even less available to the people of Middle-earth. Also, apart from using an already existing Mithril armor or weapon, it was possible to melt down the current supply and reforge it into something else. As a side note, just to give you a good idea of its worth, the Mithril vest that Bilbo had was said to be worth more than the entirety of the Shire. Now I think it would be fun just to mention some of the items or things we find that are made of Mithril in the books and films. So the first and most commonly known is the Mithril vest of Bilbo that he gave to Frodo. Another item is the elvish ring of Galadriel, Nenya, which is made of Mithril. Also the guards of the citadel, who defended the king or steward of Gondor, had helmets made of Mithril, which were heirlooms from the glory of the old days of Gondor. Now in the third film, i.e. The Return of the King, we see the Great Gate of Minas Tirith being broken and destroyed, and later on, many years later, it is repaired by Gimli and a group of dwarves using Mithril, and after that, the Gate of Minas Tirith was said to never have been breached again. So that wraps up this video. If you think I left something out or disagree with me or just want to leave some feedback, please leave a comment below. Also, if you feel I deserve it, please like this video, and if you enjoyed this content and don't want to miss more like it, subscribe. Thanks for watching, friends, and see you in the next video.